Well, no, it was 4-1, but then they hit an HR. And supposedly it's 3. Oh, you got it?
4-3.
Okay, 4-3.
Oh my God.
All right, there we go.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
What inning?
You can
It's like
let out a
the 7th.
little yip now and again if they scored something.
Yeah, it's the bottom of the 7th.
So they're in it.
And
Yeah.
they have 2 runners on base and 1 out.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Greater Albany Public School Board meeting. We'll open up. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Like I said, good evening. Thank you so much for coming, and I appreciate Principal Osborne for hosting tonight in the Albany Theater, and we're gracious enough to have her open it up to the school district itself. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. We'll move into item D, our budget hearing. As per ORS 294.453, the governing body must hold a budget hearing on a specific date and the public notice to receive citizens' testimony on the budget. Do we have anyone that would like to give testimony on tonight's budget? Thank you. We'll be moving to item E, new business, and E1, adoption of the 2022-2023 budget. And Mr. Case.
Yep, I would promptly pass it over to the colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. You have before you a budget document that was approved by the Budget Committee after a couple of Budget Committee meetings. Significant number of very good questions posed by the Budget Committee and members of the board. There was one suggested change from the proposed budget, which was to add some money into the fuel budget based on current circumstances. That change was included in the approved budget that the Budget Committee voted on, and it is now here for your adoption.
Does anyone have any questions for Lance or Janice Conley?
None here other than thank you for their work well done. It really is outstanding to have a real good grip on the budget and what's going on, and that's due to both of your hard work and Case and the rest. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing no further discussion.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, not so much, no question or anything. I just wanted to highlight, 82% of this general fund budget is personnel. And we were able to this year kind of remain status quo, more or less, with just a few additions. I just wanted to note that. Looking ahead, I think the challenge is going to be in future years, looking ahead, increasing salaries for some of our employees. And I also, a part of the budget that I've been near and dear to my heart, and really one of the reasons why I wanted to be on the school board, is the student investment account still continues to do great things. We've committed to smaller class sizes in kindergarten and first grade through this budget, and adding behavioral and social emotional support at the elementary school. And so I just wanted to highlight, I think this is a solid budget, and I appreciate the interim superintendent for tackling this part of his job this year in a great way.
Thank you, Director Thompson. The recommended motion is moved to approve the 2022-2023 budget based on the recommendation and approval of the Budget Committee.
I'll move to adopt the approved 2022-23 budget based on the recommendation and approval of the Budget Committee.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. And now we'll move to E2. Recommended motion to approve supplemental budget and budget appropriation revision for the 21-2022 fiscal year in accordance with Oregon local budget law.
So again, as we spoke at a board meeting a few weeks ago, we were required to do an interfund loan from the general fund to the debt service fund in order to make sure that we had adequate resources in the current fiscal year to make our payments this year. And at the time when you approved that, we did let you know that that would necessitate a supplemental budget on the part of the district. We also noted during the budget discussion that we were receiving $800,000 more in SIA funding than was in the original budget that was done over a year ago. So we have prepared for you a supplemental budget resolution that incorporates the interfund loan from general fund. It incorporates the revenue on the debt service side, and we also added $800,000 to the grant special revenue fund. Now, in addition to that, ESSER, when it was budgeted last year, was primarily budgeted in instruction, and as part of your COVID safety protocols, you ended up hiring a number of staff that ended up being paid out of support services, so we moved some money into support services as well. All of these were under the 10% required by supplemental budget ORS, and this was advertised locally to ensure compliance with local budget law. So it's our recommendation that you approve the attached resolution to comply.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
No, just wondering if anybody else had questions.
Just ready for a motion.
Okay. I move to approve the supplemental budget and budget appropriation revision for the 21-22 fiscal year in accordance with Oregon local budget law.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you. Mr. Superintendent, brings us to comments from the public.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Board Chair. I have a public comment summary tonight, and I do think it's always important for me to let people know that the entire text has been submitted for public comment, has been submitted and provided to the board, and is submitted for the public record, and that the board reads them in their entirety, and I would encourage everyone to read them in their entirety. There were 5 public comments tonight, and I have a brief summary on each of those. Public comment number 1. The writer is concerned about school shootings and wants to know what prevention programs the district has in place. They would like to hear from the district and Albany Police Department about what we have and/or will put in place as prevention measures. Public comment number 2. This comment complains about the selection of a speaker at our recent graduation ceremonies. Public comment number 3. This comment indicates a concern about timely and effective updates for the GAPS organization chart and asks for a district directive for 48-hour turnaround on communication. Public comment number 4. The writer comments that they're upset about the choice of speaker for the graduation ceremony and will be sending their children to private school as a result of the district choice. And finally, public comment number 5. This comment indicates concern for community growth and the boundaries between the 2 high schools. They ask a series of questions regarding data between the two schools and indicate an interest in better balance in student socioeconomics and school facilities. And that concludes.
Thank you, sir. and we will move to board business. Not seeing any. On to superintendent comments.
Okay. Right back to me, huh? Yes. One of the things I've promised to do is give updates on the listening session. Thank you both very
Thank you so
much.
much. Thank you.
Thank you to the
Appreciate you
colleagues
guys.
very much. Actually, I'll skip to that first. So I did want to thank the colleagues for all of their really good work on the budget. Also, Case and Shannon and all the folks in our district who really and truly, I think, have provided a firm footing for us in the district and an opportunity to move forward in really good and smart ways. And I also want to thank HR, Heather, you and your staff and all their work, and our principals for the work that they've done in putting this together and getting it to a place where we really understand where we are, what we have, and have good ideas about how to move forward. So thanks to both of you. I think I owe you both a dinner, so we'll take care of that this summer. Thank you. All right. Update on a listening session. I'll get back to that. We had 4 speakers tonight. Jamie Henderson was our first. And these are very brief, again, kind of summaries. She talked quite a bit about training and the training that particularly our classified staff need, and then was very specific about trauma-informed care training on the behalf of students. How do we work with students who experience trauma in ways that are most effective, and us having people who are trained in what that means and how to utilize that in a positive way to help kids. And then also talked about our classified staff's compensation and its inadequacy. Dick Olson spoke about Central School, which was a surprise. I knew that Dick was going to talk about Central School, I think. And Dick talked about specifically the way that the schools are configured, the sister school configuration or a K-5 configuration, and I think we'd like to see a K-5 configuration as opposed to the sister school that we have now. Dane Campbell was our third speaker, and he talked about the high school boundaries. Most specifically, he talked a little bit about our org charts and having those updated, which will happen soon and be on our website. But he also talked about boundaries at the high school level, and that there is becoming a size discrepancy between our 2 high schools, and that there are some other discrepancies that are around socioeconomics and the like, and then also facility differences, and wanted to know when we might look at boundary changes, how we would do that, what data would be used, and what we would consider balanced. Were kind of the series of questions. And then Helen Jacobs spoke, our classified president. Helen wanted to talk about compensation for our classified staff and retention of classified staff, some of the jobs that we have open, and more specifically, or very specifically about our lack of bus drivers and some of the routes that we have been unable to perform over time, and really we are kind of coming up short on that weekly. She talked about us being short about 20 drivers, and I think that is might be an understated number. And so I think that's really important for us to know about and consider. So those were the things that we talked about tonight. I do want to announce, speaking of that along that lines, on behalf of new Superintendent Gardner, I've been in conversation with him, and I know he's been in the district on Fridays and has made a decision that the district will be, as we head into the next school year, hiring staff members who are not vaccinated, and that we would go through the process of having them receive an exception, just as we did with other employees who were unvaccinated. So they would need to either have a medical exemption or a religious exception. And so we'd go through the hiring process and then work to get those exceptions should people qualify for those. And I do think that part of what we're hearing right now is that there are some bus drivers who would like to come and work for the district but are unvaccinated, and that this might be a way that we could increase some of those numbers. And there may be some other positions. We'll see how that all unfolds. We will immediately start when we advertise going through the hiring process of making that change. Staff who are unvaccinated wouldn't start until after July 1 or beyond. So I want to just make sure that we've got some time to do that, and that people understand that. Additionally, he wanted me to announce here tonight that we'll do the same for volunteers that are unvaccinated. That process will go into place in August. We're in the hiring season right now. We need to get that done. And there'll be a process that goes up on our website that tells people how to do that. they also will have to work through an exception process. And we'll need to come up with the rules about what that looks like. In both instances, both employees and volunteers, the law that went into place has not changed. And that law says that there needs to be additional precautions or they need to meet additional things in order to be able to, work on a weekly basis. And so we'll get those put together as well and move forward with that. But I know that that's something that people have been waiting for as we move from an epidemic to an endemic, or a pandemic to an endemic situation. At some point in time, it makes sense for us to move in this direction. And with the current status that we have across the district and our competitors and people around us, districts around us doing something similar, we think that this is the right time. And Mr. Gardner thinks that that's the right time to do this. So I wanted to make sure and announce that. I don't know if there are questions about that from the board, or I would look at Ms. Huzefska and ask if I've misrepresented any of that, or any clarifications you want to make? Okay, terrific, thank you. I already talked about budget. I do want to talk about our graduations just for a minute. We had our graduations last week, and I don't know about for y'all. I know that y'all attended those, and it makes for a busy week, but it also is a really fun week where we get an opportunity to see, really a culmination of the work that happens in the district from the time that kids are in kindergarten. I always love it when one of the student speakers gets up and talks about what was going on in the world 13 years ago, or what some of their experiences were as they came through school, and think about that in kind of joyful and gleeful ways, and the experiences that they shared with their classmates over time. But just I went to the South Albany graduation and just thought it was fantastic. And the weather was nice enough. It spit just a little bit at the start, and then it completely stopped raining, so I had a great appreciation for that. But just seeing the students and the joy and the excitement, and I do think, this is the first group in a couple of years who's gotten to have this exact same end-of-year experience, right? And hearing them talk about their experience over the last 4 years of high school especially, and their experiences with COVID, and also with their teachers and their education and classmates, and the excitement that they have as they move forward in life is really wonderful. I want to make sure, as I talk about that I recognize all the hard work that staff across the district from kindergarten on have put into that. And I know that our schools do a walk where they go back to their schools. The seniors do, and they walk through their schools, their elementary schools and their middle schools and their high school, and they see some of the teachers who've taught them over time, and how interesting that has to be for everybody, right? Who gets to see something different in their final days is really a neat tradition. And then at West Albany, as I came in here tonight, I looked at this chair and I was a little bit nervous to sit in it because I didn't know if it was one that had been in the deluge or not. But and the last time I sat on pleather or something like that, I actually almost swam in it, because just like everybody else who was there was plenty of rain that came down. I had to appreciate the attitude of the people there. It was sort of, a laugh and a nod to one more challenge that we're going to get through before we get an opportunity to walk across the stage and get our diploma. And just the way that everybody approached it and went into it. There was a moment when the mics cut out completely, if y'all remember that, where I thought, uh-oh, I have no idea what this means now. Fortunately, we have really competent people who do things like sound, and that got put back together somehow, and we were able to continue on. I thought we were either going to have to yell or go find a megaphone or something like that, and it would have been a real challenge. It was great to hear the kids speak, and again, a lot of excitement there. Miraculously, it quit raining about the moment that students started walking across the stage, and it didn't rain again until after they were done. So there was a moment in time where every student got to walk across the stage, get their diploma, shake a hand, be in the spotlight for that briefest of moments to say, I've done it. And it was a really neat event. And then finally on Friday, right here, AOS had the good sense to hold graduation here, and another just really special event. About 50 students who graduated there, and these are kids who, needed an opportunity to get a restart and earn some credits and have a school that they all would say really feels like family. And it's so wonderful that Greater Albany Public Schools has that opportunity for kids. And I think the way that the high schools work and with the alternative school, that this district does something really special when it comes to five-year cohort graduation rate. I've talked about that before. We're in the mid to high 90s with our five-year cohort graduation rates because of how we approach that and what a wonderful job that everybody does. But that graduation was fantastic. So much pride in the kids and the speakers, the principal. It was really evident. There was a wonderful poem that a number of kids had written together that was delivered, and just really fun to get to shake those kids' hands and see them head off into a bright future. So thank you all for the time that you put into that and spent with it too, and the opportunity to experience that all together. And of course, my computer went to sleep for a second. I wanted to say also that I know that we've had some transportation challenges in the district, over the course of the year, and there have been times at the start of the year it was rough, and then it seemed like we kind of hit our stride for quite a while, and then we had some, real times of illness in midwinter, and that was a challenge, and it seems like we found some challenges here as we head into the end of the year. And there are several canceled bus routes every week. And I understand very much that it is a terrific inconvenience, at the very least, for everybody who's involved in that, for our families, and apologize that hasn't gone as smoothly as we would hope that it would. Our bus drivers and our transportation shop who are doing everything and then some to try to make this work. Nobody's working harder at this, more dedicated to it and more worried about it than they are. And so I just want to thank them for all their really hard work and dedication to getting students to school and back home safely, and with a smile and a nice greeting and a nice goodbye in the evenings from our drivers. This is an area that we're going to have to work really hard on between now and the start of next school year. We do, I think, we'll be able to attract some drivers that we haven't been able to with a change in vaccination status. But also, we have some grant dollars that are coming in, and we will have a significant recruiting campaign underway over the course of this summer. We'll ramp up all of our training for our drivers. We're going to make it really clear that we need drivers. And we have ideas about different kinds of things we can do in our campaign in order to get them and retain them. We have an intent. We'll need to work this out there's other things to work out on this, but an intent to increase hourly pay and to continue on and/or increase bonuses that we've had in the past. And so we really need to press on this in order to get there. Last thing that I wanted to mention tonight, just as we're going to talk about strategic plan near the end of the meeting. There are a number of people in the district and in the community who've worked on the strategic plan. I'll have an opportunity to talk about them when we get to it, but it's some work I'm really pleased about. The folks who worked on that were incredibly dedicated and I think did a nice piece of work in order to support the district as it moves forward. So I just wanted to make sure and say that, and say thank you to all of them that are here tonight and all those that are out there maybe watching the board meeting, and anybody who has an interest in strategic planning. I think they'll see it's a good piece of work when we get to that agenda item. Thank you. I'm happy to take questions. Or if there's anything I forgot I should have talked about.
All right. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Superintendent. Now move us into board reports, board liaison reports.
Yeah, a bunch of things have happened, but bargaining has begun again. And we've had a few meetings. I think we're going to be briefed on it in an executive session next board meeting. So we'll get a chance to bring up to speed. And we're almost at the end of policy review. Director Morris and I are on. That's been a long process. We're getting there. That's all I got.
Okay, for me, I would just say it was a true pleasure and honor to get to go to the graduations and be part of that. There's a lot of, policy work, talk about, dry and tough to get through. Important work and needs to be done, but, compare that to watching a couple hundred kids with a big old smile on their face come across the stage to get their diploma. Wow. You know, that's really uplifting, and I know I wasn't the only one that felt that. So it was an honor to be part of that, and I know we all felt that way. Even if we got wet, so what? I want to congratulate the new teacher union leadership. They won their positions with overwhelming support, so that'll be good to have a united teachers union. Another thing I want to talk about is I think we need to get back to normal as much as we can in schools. We're almost complete with our first whole year back post-COVID pandemic. It was not perfect, but we got our students back in the classroom, which was really important. Next year, we need to get back to a more normal environment for our students. From the start of next year, we need to not be giving as much grace or patience with, you know, having your phone out in school, or, you know, got my hood on and I got my earbuds in and I'm rocking out to tunes in the middle of class. Late to class, things like that. We need to get back to the best learning environment possible, and we need to empower our teachers to do that. Standards and consistency will be stressed throughout the district to provide the proper environment for learning. We have a lot of catching up to do. COVID put us behind in a lot of ways, academically, socially, a lot of different ways. So we need to provide the best environment we can so our students can get there, and I know we'll do that. Talking to some of the committees and organizations that we liaison with, things are done a little different. Summer programs are a little different this year. How the funding goes through is a little different. But there are great opportunities out there for your children during the summer, and I hope you all take advantage of them.
Thank you, Dr. Morris. I just want to echo the comments from some of the other board members and the superintendent. Graduation was amazing, and I would remind all staff members and educators that, you know, when you do your password for your bank, one of the questions is always, what was your favorite teacher in school? And you can put any staff member, it doesn't have to be, you know, a lot of us have our, say, favorite janitor, or we have our favorite bus driver. So that's the impact that you have on our young students, is they will remember you forever. When you go to corporate events, a lot of times the icebreaker is, what was your favorite teacher and why? The impact that staff have on children is amazing, and I appreciate so much watching those kids cross the stage and accept their diplomas, and it's from the hard work of our staff here at GAPS. It was a privilege to speak at 2 of the graduation ceremonies. I marked that pretty high up in my list of accomplishments. And then finally, I would like to congratulate the Albany Public School Foundation. They recently had their gala, which lots of us were in attendance for, and it was a great time. They raised over $100,000, and all that money goes back into sponsorships and classroom grants. So congratulations, and thank you for the community for really building that with us. If there's any other board member reports, we will move on to community and school presentations. Ms. Beltran, Ms. Soa. Good evening, welcome.
I will present. Good evening, board members and everyone present. My name is Marcy Beltran. I'm the principal at South Shore Elementary. I'm going to give you some quick facts about South Shore. We are a school-wide dual language program. We have approximately 320 students, 17 classroom teachers, a full-time PE and music teacher, full-time counselor, full-time resource teacher, and a .6 speech language pathologist. Things that we are very proud of are we are the only elementary in the school district that has a dual language program. All of our students are language learners, whether they're learning in Spanish or in English, and teachers integrate QTEL strategies into all their subjects. Our foundation, or PBIS at South Shore, has a positive culture and classrooms. This year we did Reading to the Moon, which was a reading incentive school-wide. We gave students lots of prizes to encourage them to do some reading at home, and we had a school-wide family event at the end where we welcomed many, many, many families, and it was just fun to watch them roam the school, take pictures, just be happy to be back in schools. We also offer free orchestra classes for 3rd through 5th grade students through the Albany Youth Orchestra. And many of our students are involved in the Boys and Girls Club, where they play soccer, softball, flag football, and all the sports that they have available. Some of the challenges that we face are finding bilingual, licensed, quality teachers and assistants, finding substitutes when teachers are sick or try to attend any type of professional development. And the big one for me is the busing. Busing for students who would like to attend the bilingual program, or busing for students who would benefit the greatest with our program, such as newcomers. Our mission is South Shore is a dual language school where all students are inspired to reach their highest potential through bilingualism, biliteracy, and multiculturalism. Some of the things that we are looking forward to is this coming year is the first year where we'll have almost all of our classroom teachers self-contained, which means that they will be they're bilingual teachers teaching both in Spanish and English. We're adding a preschool program at South Shore, which we are very excited about. We are also excited about the new reading curriculum, inviting parents, volunteers back into the classroom, hosting evening events again throughout the year, and the return of our OBOB in Spanish and English. We're also excited about, which I forgot to put on there, but our new building that's coming up next year. Here are some of the comments that some of our students have said. I like coming to South Shore because we get to do fun activities like mystery science and projects in Spanish from Lincoln in 4th grade. I love how kind the teachers are here at South Shore. The teachers have helped me through a lot and have grown a lot as a student this year. Me gusta aprender en los dos idiomas también. Jasmine from 5th grade. I love that South Shore is a bilingual school, and I feel safe here at school. Abraham from 5th grade. I've also attached a 5th grade video that you can watch later. They did some interviews. I have a 5th grader who did some interviews on some 5th graders. It's a fun little video. Do you have any questions?
If there was one thing that the school board could do for you,
I would encourage you to come visit our school, learn about our families, so that you are able to make well-informed decisions when you're working and looking at our needs of our students and our families.
thank you, ma'am.
If possible, I see Director Cervantes has a question or comment.
Sir.
So I understand that this year is the first graduating class of our program, seniors, from 13 years ago?
Actually, no. It's the second year, yes, but it is the class with the highest number of students graduating. Last year, the seniors from last year was our first class. It was a very small class. Actually, they were my 4th and 5th grade students. So I'm very knowledgeable about them. They had about 15 maybe, if I remember correctly.
This year's class was really excited about graduating. I had a chance to go out to South Albany High School, and they actually listened to letters from their kindergarten teacher that actually saw them through their first, for their first year, and to see them through. And they were actually trying to remember who the kindergarten teacher was. So it was really exciting. Congratulations.
It was exciting to see them walk through our halls as well. Many of the staff members were excited to watch them walk our halls in all their graduating year. Thank you.
I just wanted to make sure and just say thank you for everything that, I've seen you do this year. Participated in all kinds of things, including strategic planning, and also just, I've had an opportunity to go to your school. I don't know how many times I've barged in on you this year, but 5 or 6, I would guess, probably, and walk around to classrooms and see what's happening in the classrooms, and just enjoyed that immensely. If you get an opportunity to go see our bilingual program in action, it is a really fun and interesting thing to watch, and I like that when I'm in kindergarten, I think I can be a competent Spanish speaker, and I'm all excited. By the time I get to 5th grade, I know I don't have a chance. But it is amazing. I swear, if you go to that school and you watch what happens in the communication and the way that that the learning is delivered, honest to God, if I'm there for 30 minutes, I am a better Spanish speaker when I walk out the door than I was in the 30 minutes prior to that, or an hour, or whatever, however much of your time I take up. But it has been really fascinating and wonderful. I know that you've got a big construction project that's going to be underway next year, and so the idea of normal is never normal, right? You're going to have that underway, and that'll be a big endeavor for you all, but also really exciting, and some nicer classrooms than where you've been in the past. Just, I want to thank you for, being such a great principal and for the work that you do at the school.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hello. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. My name is Kylie Soa. I'm the principal of North Albany Elementary. Thank you for having me tonight. Here's a little bit about North Albany Elementary.
Kylie, can I get you to pull that mic just a little further down?
Got it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Some quick facts. We have about 300 students spread across 13 classrooms, grade K through 5. I would like to thank you guys for allowing us a 3rd kindergarten classroom. It made all the difference for our littles this year to have small class sizes, so we very much appreciate that. We have a full-time PE teacher and a .4 music teacher that we share with Oak Grove. We also share our counselor and dean of students with Oak Grove. We partner with them frequently and make a great partnership over there in Benton County. We have a .8 resource teacher, a .2 speech language pathologist, and we proudly host our structured support classroom for the district for grade levels 3, 4, and 5. And again, we partner with Oak Grove in that. They have kindergarten 1st and 2nd. So we're pretty proud of that program. Some points of pride include our foundations, our PBIS team. It has definitely helped to have the additional training through Safe and Civil Schools to maintain our positive culture in classrooms through some of the hardest couple of years as educators that we have seen. It's great to have interactive goals for kids to work towards, and again, having a dean of students has made a huge difference, so thank you for working that into the budget as well, because the dean of students really takes care of our foundation and PBIS lead. We have an amazing running club run by our PE teacher, Danae Stanfield Holmes, who can recruit kids to run like no other. I think no matter what school she's at, she wins the Albany Public Schools Foundation 5K every year. Doesn't matter what school, just she's very good at it. Along with our mileage club, which we just finished up. And thank you to Jennifer Crow for running our Oregon Battle of the Books teams. She does it for both us and Oak Grove. Again, sharing staff has been a really great thing for us. Students who are involved in the Boys and Girls Club is another point of pride for us. We have just about every sport they offer, and our kids really love it. We are very lucky to be very close to, in proximity to North Albany Middle School, and Andy Nelson does a 5th grade band class for our students, which any 5th grade student that is a feeder school from Nance can join. We're just very lucky to be in such close proximity. And then the Symphonia and other local music programs. We have a lot of participants. And We are, through the help of our APSF grant, creating an outdoor classroom so we can have little mini outdoor school sessions. Our third grade is putting that together. We've used some of that funding to purchase picnic tables, raised gardens, seeds, and other lessons to go along with that. So preparing them for their 6th grade outdoor school experience. Among the challenges we faced, many are the same as the other principals you've heard speak at your meetings, but not being able to find licensed teachers to fill openings. Just at our school alone, we had openings all year that did not get filled with licensed teachers, which was a definite challenge. Finding substitutes when teachers are sick or to try and attend professional development. Our district has really provided us with some excellent professional development through QTEL and Safe and Civil Schools, and we haven't always been able to attend because we haven't been able to find substitutes. So I'm looking forward to that changing. The difficulties with that are maintaining strong Tier 1 behavior systems that reach all students, and the next level with Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports depend on a strong foundation in Tier 1. So when we don't have substitutes and we are kind of filling in as we can or finding adults without license that don't maybe have the background that we're looking for, it kind of puts a kink in the systems that we're building and trying to maintain. Another challenge is focusing our time to purposefully plan and adjust for academic achievements. I think one of the #1 things you'll hear from any educator is if they could have something, it would be time, more time. So elementary school teachers cover all the subjects in a day and must prioritize the planning and assessing time they get with their teams. So time is extremely valuable to us all. Our mission at North Albany Elementary is to provide the best education for our students, both academically and socially. Our goal is to work together to model understanding, clear communication, and respectful relationships. We are very much looking forward to moving classes into our new modular. Thank you so much for the work you guys did on that as well. It was a really fun week, a couple weeks ago, to watch them move the entire building in, put it up on its foundation, and sink it down onto the foundation, and the kids got to experience that. During recesses, they would just watch and were in awe of the big machinery and moving the giant building into the playground, and so it was a really neat experience, and we get to see improvements on that every single day. So thank you for that. We're also looking forward to learning and using our new reading curriculum. Inviting parent volunteers back into the classrooms is huge. We're so excited to get our volunteer community back into our classrooms and helping to support our kids. And then we're also looking forward to using our new outdoor classroom. It's just something that we're just now starting to build and get the equipment and resources for. So I'm looking forward to having the kids be able to use it. Some of the fun things that our students say about our school. Cruz really likes the classes like science and PE. He also did an excellent job in Mileage Club. Peyton, our kindergartner, when asked what she liked about North Albany, said, "There are really good people." I loved that one. Another kindergartner said, "We have really good supervision," but I didn't put that because I didn't know if people would think a kindergartner actually said that. When I first came in, I made a lot of friends, said Jethro, who was new to our building a couple of years ago. And then my personal favorite, when asked what they like about North Albany Elementary, Blake, a 4th grader, said, no matter what teacher he has, all of his teachers have been the best teacher he's ever had. So that was a pretty neat thing for a kid to say. What questions can I answer about North Albany Elementary for you or the crowd this evening?
I got to visit once, went over there and walked around, and one of the things that came to, having the kids all run around and the organization, that's always neat to see, and they're exciting, and it's fun. One of the issues I saw is there was a kid who didn't want to leave the playground, and that was quite a, and then 3 SEAs or whatever had to spend time with them, and then at the end of that period, there was a lot of hitting and screaming, and it's like, wow, talk me through that a little bit. Having not seen that before, it's like,
you bet,
okay.
Yeah. One might think that was a student in our behavior classroom that we support with additional people or tertiary supports and behavior, but it was not. It was a general education student. And we have a unique challenge of having our hallways be our playground. So once a student is out of the classroom, they are on the playground. And that student was just not ready to be in an academic space. They had some difficulty with social emotional learning, and in order to utilize the skill set they already had, we had to figure out what skill sets were lacking. And that's a really hard thing to do with students, especially when you haven't been with them for the last year and a half or so. I'm happy to report that student is doing very well now, and we are able to kind of draw on his strengths to build up the lacking skills or the lagging skills in that kind of behavior. And so, although it was a great challenge, I'm very grateful for the district behavior support team that Sandy Washburn has put together, because having them come into our building and help coach us through how to work with difficult behaviors so that we can best support the students has just been such a wonderful support. Even when I have some of the best trained behavior people in the district, it's always nice to have someone come in and say, hey, this is what you're doing well. Let's try to work on this, because this is what you see when you're outside and not in the moment dealing with kids. So
That's great to hear. I mean, you know, as someone who's not that knowledgeable in those things, you look at it and you're like, how do you deal with that? So
it's hard.
That's fantastic. Thank you. You could tell talking to some of your staff that they were frustrated,
sure.
You know, and you could understand that. And yet it was really rewarding to see how much they cared and how much they wanted to make a difference. And I mean, that's just fantastic.
I think the largest source of frustration comes from us not being able to help the kid as they need it, and we don't know what else to do. We're doing what we can, so that's where the frustration comes in. But man, my staff is diligent, and they will do just about anything for kids, and I'm happy to report that that student is doing very well.
That's great. Thank you to you and your staff.
I just, Kylie, same as what I said earlier, thank you for letting me come to school and, you know, follow you around once in a while. Or I remember the first time I went, I think we went to the cafeteria, and I got to see, you know, kids doing their thing, and really important things like open up milk cartons for kindergartners, because they haven't had to do that before, or take the little straw, you know, and poke it into the drink deal, because that's a really hard thing to do and a skill that I happen to possess. Or just get to see the playground and the water fountain that you have out there when it rains really hard, and try to figure out a response to that in the swimming pool that it turns into. But
North Albany Falls.
Mostly, you know, I really appreciate just the conversation that just took place here. I heard you earlier talk about Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 supports for kids. I know that in your school you are on top of MTSS, which is how we think about how we educate kids, right? Multi-tiered systems of support, which says that when we have somebody who needs a different level of support, we're going to get it for them so that they can be successful. And there are lots of schools across this nation where a child who's having a behavior challenge like that runs into people who really don't know what to do, don't understand the idea of problem solving around it, or trying to find the supports, and we lose that kid forever. I mean, we lose that kid forever. They become a tragedy and a drain. And that didn't happen, and it's not going to happen. Because our educators and the people that you lead and work really diligently to cause happen, and Sue Luthra, props to you on that too, and all the people who work on that, Lisa, to just say, we're not going to give up on this kid. We know that there are answers to this, and we're going to make sure that when we're done, we've got a successful youngster who gets through school, who gets to walk across the stage and get their diploma in the rain at West Albany and have everybody cheer for them, and they're going to be a successful adult. And there is a moment where you see an emergency, Pete, and it is a much bigger emergency than people really appreciate, and that emergency turns into something that is successful. So just thank you for your diligence about that. How many deans have you had this year? Just two?
I have only had one dean, but I've had 2 instructional coaches.
Okay.
Gianna Pierce was absolutely amazing.
Yes. So we've switched people around some this year on Kylie, and part of it is because she's so good at helping people become better, and then they have an opportunity to move forward. And so just thank you for the work that you do on that, and the really important leadership that you provide at that school. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity this evening.
And if possible, before we move forward, I have an email from Ally. And so I thought, I don't know if Michael could read it or
Yeah,
whatever, but I've
sure,
got it right
absolutely.
there. Don't touch the pad. There you go.
Uh-oh.
Here, let me fix it. We had it all dialed up.
I didn't.
I know, I think I got my fat thumb on it, so. There we go.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, this is from our West Student Board Rep, Ali. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make the board meeting tonight, but I wanted to send in a report as well, saying my thanks to you, Mr. Saxon, and the whole board for welcoming me into the process this year. Here's my report. West Albany's senior class of 2022 graduated on Thursday, June 9th. Although it was incredibly rainy during the ceremony, no kidding, it was wonderful to hear from all the speakers, and it is exciting to be able to celebrate the senior class at the end of their high school journey and the beginning of their next chapters. Graduating students from West have plans of pursuing 2 to 4-year college degrees, attending trade schools, or esthetician schools, entering the workforce, and much more. Congratulations to all these students and their families. On Monday, June 6th, we celebrated seniors receiving special awards and scholarships, with the senior class receiving over $2 million in combined scholarships, including offers from the schools they will be attending. Huge thank you to the Albany Public Schools Foundation for providing many of these scholarships to several highly qualified and motivated seniors. For West Albany students who are not graduating this spring, finals are wrapping up this week, with Blue Day finals in the book already and Gold Day finals this Wednesday. Good luck, Bulldogs. I've enjoyed being part of the board this year. Thank you to the board members for all you do to help this district support its many students and staff members. Thank you, out.
Thanks.
All right, gentlemen, we'll move to item K, consent agenda. We have K1, personnel license. Recommendation is to move to approve personnel license as presented.
I so move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. And K2, recommendation is to move to approve personnel classified as presented.
I move to approve personnel classified as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. We'll move down to, looks like our bond business report.
Correct, and is the custom, Skip Hamilton will be presenting that for us.
Good evening, Skip. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Skip.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. I'll go over the dry voice there. Go over the April end of the month report. Let's see. So at West Albany High, we're still completing the punch list items, a little longer than usual for that size project, and with the expectation we would ramp up in May, and now we're looking at June. So we do have some dates coming in from girding builders for finishing some things up in June. And we made progress towards starting up the chillers. We know we had issues with the cooling plant early on, and there was a board that was on the supply chain delay, and that came in, installed in April, and we've learned more things about the chiller since then, but we are producing cold water now, so that's a good thing for the school. Transportation, metal building erection continued, as well as interior metal wall framing and the roof. It's looking like a really sharp building, and we did have, we hosted some tours this month with the bus drivers, so that was kind of an exciting thing to do for them, to see the new place. South Shore Elementary School, we submitted the conditional use permit to the City of Albany. We completed the last project cost estimate and started looking at site-built over factory-built classroom structure. So that's now behind us, and we are doing site-built. And then we did prepare bid documents to move the modulars, so that's coming up here very soon, next week. And then North Albany and Waverly Elementary Schools, bids were received for the construction. And then since April, as we heard earlier tonight, the modulars did arrive in North Albany, and that was exciting. And Waverly's receiving them this week, so that'll be fun to see those go in. That's all I wanted to report tonight. Did you have any questions?
I don't think so.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That brings us to new business and Timber Ridge property line adjustment. Mr. Bowman.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So, going back to 2017, the city had a kind of verbal agreement working on a situation where, in exchange for some donations of nearly $1 million to help create funding for a couple of the gyms over at Timber Ridge, in exchange for that, there was the discussion of effectively a land donation back to the city. What was requested is about 0.73 acre wedge of land on the west side of the track for the intent to become a city park. And recently, Kim from the city reached out and said, we'd love to get that formalized and start work on actually building the park for the community. It does a really nice addition to the community in the sense that there will be a path that will allow you to go between Meadow Ridge and Timber Ridge. And so the place that we're at is looking to convey that property back to the city, along with the intent of the agreement back in 2017. Kim is here with the city as well. If I've left anything out or you think...
You've covered it well. Thank you. We're just very excited. We're finally in a position after COVID to, and hopefully this time next summer, be starting a 1.8 acre park between Timber Ridge and Meadow Ridge, which we feel will be really beneficial to that part of that side of town, as East Albany only has Timberlin Park. So we're excited. This is the first step in working, well, not the first step. First step for the new crowd, I guess I should say, in working together through making this a reality. So we hope that this board is interested in moving forward with the property line adjustment.
Yeah, I thought this was done a couple years ago when we were on the PAC. So yeah, let's recommend a motion is to approve and conveyance of the boundary line adjustment as presented in board materials.
I'll move to approve a conveyance and boundary line adjustment as presented in board materials.
I second that.
Are you going to have Ridge in the name of the park? I mean, I could ask Councilor Olson's back there, so I could twist his arm a little bit. But
Sure. So it is at this point being called Timber Ridge Park. That is the soft name, as we will be working together to identify an appropriate one moving forward that is neutral territory, but also showing pride of our community.
board members, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If I may, before Kim leaves, I just want to publicly thank Kim Ledane and certainly her team, Rose as well, for being amazing partners to GAPS through the summer programs of last year, through all of the partnerships, our swim program, all of those things. They are always such a collaborative partner that I really appreciate, and I know our kids in our district benefit from. So while I have the opportunity, I just wanted to give a shout out and thanks to Kim Ledane and certainly her whole team who make our work a lot easier. So thank you.
Thank you. You all have been amazing partners. So looking forward to a good summer and then once again, a good school year moving forward.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. That moves us to O2. Mr. Bowman.
Yes, sir. So this is kind of the annual routine of bringing to the board the recommendation to continue the insurance for both liability, property, automobile and such, along with workers' compensation. In the description, I tried to include the fact that we are seeing a rate increase. Initially, it was estimated to be about 10%. We're a few tenths of a percent better than that. It comes in part due to new properties that have been added to the district, and additionally, in terms of liability, now that we're in a position where a lot more staff are back in our buildings, it constitutes what we believe is a reasonable increase to the rates. On the workers' compensation side, we've seen our multiplier go down slightly, and so you could extrapolate that we are slightly safer, and as a result, those rates have gone down.
And Pace is the corner market. I mean, there's no other insurance company for us.
And I'm not real surprised about the increase.
I had a name tag faux pas.
So I'll hear a recommendation to move.
I move to approve the renewal of PACE as the insurance provider for the district and to approve the workers' compensation agreements as presented.
I second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Mr. Superintendent, brings you back to the strategic plan.
Yes, we get to talk a little bit about the strategic plan tonight and hopefully adopt a part or a portion of some of the work that we have underway. I want the board to know that this is a presentation I'm really pleased to bring this evening, and also want to thank all the people who worked on it. I didn't think that we would get as far on the strategic plan this year as we have, or maybe even that we should move very far on it, but after looking at what the community had done and then trying to advance it forward, I actually think it's a really good thing for us. There are members of the committee who are here tonight. If you are not presenting, but you're here and you're a participant in our process, could you just go like up to the microphone and introduce yourself and tell us what you do for the district and anything brief you want to mention? Oh, look at this, more than I knew.
They're thrilled.
Yeah, excited to do this. Let's start over here on the right.
Hi, we have 2 mics tonight. Michelle Steinable, Communications Director. I'm really proud of the work that was done with this plan, and I hope you guys enjoy the presentation from Rob tonight. Thank you.
I'm Angela Sally, and I'm the behavior coach at Liberty Elementary, and I think that the greatest part about this body of work is it came from everyone, a representative of just about every position in the district, so a lot of wonderful, brilliant minds that were putting a lot of thought and effort into how we can support our children best.
I'm Rachel Smith. I'm our Director of Health Services, and I think the strategic planning opportunity has just been a fantastic time for us to really be able to get together and think about what direction the district's going to go in the future, and really all agree as a committee. It was a wonderful experience.
I'm Jody Dudera, principal at Timber Ridge, and I got to start with the beginning strategic planning team, and I have to say I really appreciate how diligent the district was in surveying all of staff, students, community, got voices from all sorts of underrepresented communities as well, and brought that work together and really dove into what we need in our community and in our schools. And then the work of the second team that's come along that's been all from the district, but really the people that are hands and feet of this and have really been thoughtful about how do we make a plan that's going to be really meaningful for our kids and help us move forward in a positive direction. So I think there's a lot of work that's gone into it, lots of people and time and great thoughts. So super supportive of what's to come.
My name's Kalia Kidder. I'm a Human Resources Administrator, and I just want to echo what people have said. There was a lot of different voices represented in the room when we agonized over every single word of the strategic plan. So I just hope that you enjoy and that we're able to think thoughtfully about each part of it, because it really was a process where we were very deliberate about every single piece of it.
My name is Sue Luther. I'm Director of Elementary Education. One of my favorite parts about this plan is it's pre-K through 12. So helping us align from our preschoolers to our graduates. And that's really important for our students to have that guaranteed and viable curriculum that will help them succeed. And they're not stopping and starting every year, but we're going to be K-12 aligned. Thank you.
I'm Krista McGuire. I'm the Director of Special Programs for the district, and I want to reiterate, we spent a lot of time and intentionality on all parts of this plan from all across the district with various representation at all levels and in all job classifications. We feel it's really good work and a lot of really good thinking, and so we would appreciate your support in moving this forward tonight. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marcy Beltran. I'm the principal at South Shore Elementary. I was very honored to be part of this committee. I think the process was very helpful in helping us think deeper in how to better serve our students.
I'm Helen Jacobs. I am the president for the Association of Classified Employees, and I'm also the driver development coordinator at Transportation. I have started on the program right from the get-go and was able to come when we had enough people. But I will tell you that we had very tough conversations, honest conversations. It was something that needed to happen in our district, and we still continue to need to do. So I'm very proud of the team and all the hard work that everybody's put into this. So thank you.
My name is Lisa Harlan. I'm the assistant superintendent. I think I'm most proud of the people on the team. You know, we heard a little bit about and we chuckle about the policy rewrite. This team, from its inception, I would say maybe 4 times as long in terms of time and conversation. So I'm just proud of the team. I'm proud that they could wrestle with words and meanings and intent and really put it was a labor of love, and put a lot of time and thought into what do we really want for the future, for our whole district, and for all of our kids, every single student. So I'm proud of the team, for sure.
I'm Javier Cervantes. I'm the Executive Director for Equity, Diversity, Inclusion for the school district. One of the things that I actually was very proud of, and I mentioned to Rob and to other folks, is sometimes when minoritized professionals come into a room in a process like this, it feels like it's tokenization. This was not the case. Every one of my peers who are minoritized as professionals in our school district had their voice heard, had opportunity to lend incredible insight. In addition to the folks who are of the majority culture, we were on level playing field with everyone, which was fantastic. It was a great process in that regard. I felt like I'm much more prepared, smarter, for being in the room with such talented people who care about students and kids.
Thanks, Javier. Thank you, everybody. I know what you needed was one more evening out. And you all did incredible work on this, so thanks for all the time and diligence that you've given it to it, and for saying something this evening. And with that, we're going to get started. We have 4 presenters sitting over here who also participated, so I'll let them talk about their part when they first kick it off, and then we've got some slides to move through, and there's the slides are up on the screen over there, and then behind us for people who are watching. So slide number 1, yeah, I think this is mine. So strategic plan framework and recommendations. So I wanted to be really careful about what we called this, because what I don't want to say is this is the strategic plan, because it's not. This is the next step in the strategic plan. So this is the framework that will lay it out, and it's a recommendation to you all to adopt that framework so that it can be picked up and move forward with the rest of the work that needs to happen. And I'll talk a little bit, and other people will talk about some of the other work that needs to happen before this thing is all said and done. But I think it can be done next fall, which would be really important. And there are some people who are waiting on pieces of this, and how we approach this will make a really big difference in how we approach our work. And so there were 2 groups that got us to where we are. One is, let's go back for just a second. One of them was the Community Strategic Plan Committee. So that was the committee that was put together earlier. And then this Staff Strategic Plan Committee, and I'll talk about that on the next slide. So timeline-wise, the Community Strategic Plan group came together, and their facilitator was a man named Jerry Colonna. Jerry was longtime superintendent in Beaverton School District, Redmond before that. Really a talented guy and facilitator, and the group did great work. They started in the fall of 2019, and then their last meeting was in February of 2020. And they put together a framework that was adopted by the board on February 24th, 2020. And then, just like a whole lot of other work in the world, COVID showed up and things stopped that were better done in different ways, right? And so it really slowed the process down and kind of stalled it. And then when I started in the fall, one of the things that Chris Green said was, you got to get the strategic plan thing done. And I said, I don't wanna. But she said, no, you got to do that anyway. And so we picked up the work. And one of the things that was really important was to do updates, monthly updates with the original committee, the community committee that was put together. And you'll see the list of folks who participated in that in just a second. So I just don't want to forget that. And so in December, every month from December on, I met with that group, and that was an online meeting on Wednesday nights typically, and we'd talk about the work that this group had underway and get any feedback that the group had and that kind of thing, because this is a continuation, and bouncing that back and forth is really important. There were some meetings where we had a fair number of representatives and some where we didn't have a bunch, but we're continuing, in fact, to have a meeting this Wednesday on that, after we do our policy work from 5 to 7. I've got this committee from 7 to 8, so good times. Chris schedules me. And then the internal strategic planning committee, the facilitator was substandard. Rob Saxon, because he was too cheap to pay somebody to come in and do it. And in retrospect, it probably made our work, sort of a little slower, but you can see how many half days we met. I mean, we met all those half days, I think there are 9, from January 21st until June 3rd was our last meeting. And we also had several meetings with all of our administrators in the district periodically, where we would share out where we were in this process so that we could get any feedback and have their thinking about that. And also to have our principals look at what work do they have going forward into the fall, and not have this be something that just is sudden if it gets adopted in September, October, November, December timeframe. But I can see what the work is going to be. Let's get started now. And Lisa did a really nice job, actually, of bringing that forward to principals, especially at the elementary level, so that they can get a look at that and middle school. Next slide. So, community committee members, and I think, Tori, were you going to talk about this? That'd be great. And you can use one of these, or you can stand up there, whatever you prefer. Every microphone's live.
All right. That's good to know.
Yeah.
As Rob kind of laid out for you, I think this group, as you can see from the number of folks on this group, a good diversity that came together to talk about this. And everything for me now is measured in pre-COVID or post-COVID. So this was the pre-COVID group. And I would like to say this group was really committed. We met for, I think, 3 hours a session, and we were meeting pretty frequently. The pieces I think were really helpful was the school district did a lot of work gathering data. And so really this whole plan really is data-driven. A lot of work went into connecting with families in the district through focus groups and through online survey, really trying to make it as accessible a process for all as the district could, and I thought that was really good. And so this group looked at that data. We talked about different pieces that came up for us and really started kind of working and planning to really start that process off. So just the commitment, I think, from the representatives in this group from all different areas of the community and some school staff as well. But I think just the commitment of the community to really do something and make a difference and make some changes in the district, I was really impressed with that.
And Tori, could you just tell who you are and what you do?
Oh, sure, sorry. My name is Tori Lynn. I'm the director for the Lynn County Juvenile Department. I've also had 3 students graduate in the GAPS school district. Been very happy with their education coming through, so.
Thanks,
yeah.
Thanks for all your time on this too.
Yeah.
And I think you do some more, don't you? So you might as well
sit here for a minute.
Hang right there.
Okay.
And then we have Vaughn Phillips. Vaughn. And next slide.
Well, I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Vaughn Phillips. I'm a network technician. I've been with the school district for 22 years. So I've been here for a while. I've never been a part of a committee like this. This was an amazing process to go through, not only in the number of people, where they came from. You'll notice there's certified, there's classified, there's administrators, there's all walks of life here. It was a very diverse group. It was a real eye-opening experience for me. I don't generally work with kids. I work on things behind the scenes and try and support people who work with kids. And getting to see the depth of thought and compassion and, well, passion in general of everybody that was on this committee to doing what's right and what's best for our kids, and how to put that into writing to make sure that everybody was on the same page, that everybody was pulling together to the same goal and make a strategic plan was just, it was mind-boggling to me. I learned so much. It was really great. anyway, yeah, there's a big list of all sorts of amazing people there.
All right, thank you. And next slide. And Tori, I think
Yeah,
you're
thank you.
on for this.
Yeah. So Rob had mentioned that Jerry helped us kind of go through this process, and I'm sure many of you have been through similar process where you're kind of trying to come up with that vision and mission. And as I stated, I think the group had some really good conversations, really trying to make sure that all voices were heard in those conversations. And I think some of those were hard conversations, and I think people stood, in the room and were willing to have those. So I think the process for that was really well. We talked a lot about what we want for our kids and our community and education, and then kind of settled on the theme of bridges, bridging, from school to the real world, the next steps for kids. And so, Albany has a couple bridges, so it kind of fit in well with the theme of kind of where we were going. And so that's kind of, we worked on kind of building that mission statement with that bridging theme, and really focused on, for our kids, not just wanting them to get through school, but really be lifelong learners, and really try to make sure that every kid has the opportunity for bright futures and have all doors open, and let them figure out which ones they want to go through, but always having them with that opportunity to walk through any door that they choose to do with the right education. So, and then you'll see there with the values and beliefs, we use the bridges term, and then really trying to build off of that with each of those letters. We talked about lifelong learning, respect for individuals in the community, and again, we really kind of that social justice piece and making sure equality is a factor that we're considering in how we interact with each other. The education obviously is why we're all here. So making sure that they're getting the best education that they can be prepared for, and making sure that they're ready to move on with whichever direction they choose in their life. And then making sure our systems always include voices from all different parts of our community, to make sure that each individual is being represented. You heard some discussion tonight around social-emotional learning. Director Morris talked about that with the young person who is having some struggles. That was a big topic of our conversation in these groups, just around the adjustment that kids have, really kind of the trauma-informed pieces that we're all learning much more about, the traumas that our children suffer and the effects of those, and how we can help them self-regulate and learn some of those social-emotional skills. Again, kind of the multiple perspectives, I think that goes along with making sure everyone's represented in our community, and then strengthening relationships, and that's strengthening with our community partners, within our district, with the staff, with administration, and kind of going along. There was a pretty long list of priorities that we had come up with. The group chose 3, and at the beginning we didn't rank those, and then we came back later on and did rank those. So the equitable outcomes and systems for all students was our top priority, and then social, emotional, and mental health supports. And certainly that became more evident after COVID. We did rank these back when Rob came back to us, so that was post-COVID, and so mental health and the social-emotional things have been much more clearly represented post-COVID than they were even before. And then just the rigorous and engaging academics, and making sure that our kids are feeling connected to our schools, and that they're engaged with, the teachers are engaging them kind of where they're at, and making learning fun for them so that they're excited about it.
All right, excellent, thank you. And one of the things I want to point out about this work, really smart work on the data gathering that went into this, is that the district was doing the SIA work at that point in time, was putting their application together to the state to say, here's for the student Student Investment Act, yes. Whew, how did I lose that? Time for me to retire. The Student Investment Act, and it was gathering that data and putting in your report or your application to the state, and doing this at the same time. There's a lot of sense in that, right? Because you're going to get an infusion of dollars, and how do you want to think about how you wrap that all together? So the next slide is I'm going to present. So one of the things I want you to see on there is the quote underneath the strategic plan format, which I think I only said this like 5 times every meeting. This is not an everything plan. This is a strategic plan. If you put everything in it, you just don't focus on anything. And even the number of things that we have in here, I worry a little bit about, although there is some scientific evidence on the way that we approach this, and it's a model I learned from a group called the Education Delivery Institute back in DC. It's now defunct, but it was a way to approach strategic planning that really you would have 3 priorities. And the community group did a really nice job of giving us our 3 priorities. And then for each priority, you would have 3 objectives. And for each objective, you'd have 3 strategies. And the idea is that if you accomplish your 3 strategies, it would cause you to accomplish your objective. And if you accomplish your 3 objectives, it would cause you to accomplish your priority. And admittedly, there are other pieces of this. There's tactics, which is some work that the staff needs to do for each strategy. And when you see the strategies here in a minute, you'll understand that this isn't the what you would do, this is the intent of what needs to happen generally. And there are tactics underneath that, and that will flesh out in the plan as the work goes forward. And all that work was the work of the internal committee. And then, going forward, there are some pieces that need to happen in the summer and fall of 2022. One would be that we need to assign an individual responsible for each component of this. So for each strategy, for each objective, for each priority, there needs to be a name next to it that says, this is your work. You lead this. If you don't have a person responsible, it's amazing how, pretty soon nobody gets the work done. And so that'll be a really important designation. And then there will be a metric that needs to be chosen. And the metric is the tool to measure. So the measure isn't the inches, it is the device that provides that, which would be the ruler, right? So there is, what's the device that you're going to measure it with? So one of my examples I think that schools are used to thinking about is the metric would be something like the Oregon State Assessment Test. That's the measurement tool. And then there is a measurement goal, which is what you're targeting, that metric will provide. So if we wanted to say 60% of all 3rd graders will meet the Oregon State benchmark on the Oregon State Assessment Test, the metric would be the test, and the measurement goal would be the 60% of 3rd graders. And so all that needs to be fleshed out in the strategic plan moving forward, and that will get you what some of our community has asked for, which is exactly what are your outcome targets that you're intending to see over time. So it's a good example. Not only is it an easy example for me to use, but it also hopefully helps you think about something that we would put out in the community where we would all understand what our targets are on student achievement. Okay, and with that, I'm gonna turn over objective 1 under priority 1, and this is my doing because I put this slide together. I didn't choose, so there's objective 1, 2, and 3. I didn't choose all 3 strategies for each of those because it'd just get too long to talk about, right? But you guys have you all have the full written document, and so you can look at that and flesh those out. But I'm going to turn it over to Iris, who's going to talk about this. And oh, by the way, before I do this, I promised Iris I was going to put pictures in this slide deck because otherwise it's too boring, and then I never got it done. So my apologies, Iris. It would have been so much more exciting had I done that. I apologize. All right, Iris.
Okay. First, I just want to say thank you to whomever, and everyone who invited me to be part of this strategic planning team. It was an amazing experience, a learning experience. So, for a teacher to keep learning, it's awesome.
Can you tell where you teach and what you do?
I teach 2nd grade, and I'm at Lafayette. You all are welcome to come over and check it out. See SEL in real time. Okay, so our first priority to achieve is equitable outcomes and systems for all students. So the first objective is GAPS develops and delivers district-wide systems to attract, recruit, grow, and retain diverse and inclusive workforce. that's reflective of our evolving student population. So one of our strategies includes the district will develop and implement practices aimed at supporting and retaining diverse staff. You guys jump in if you have any questions, okay? The second objective is GAPS will create and deliver a consistent ongoing professional development plan for each student centered on equity, diversity, and inclusion that is relevant and has multiple entry points. So again, staying focused and scaffold learning supports to understand what EDI looks like and sounds like. So those multiple entry points are so that we can meet the staff where they're at. So the first strategy is to develop and implement a professional development schedule which ensures all staff receive EDI training. So much like teachers, we have a pacing guide to teach all the Common Core standards. So we provide them in bite-sized pieces, and we layer and make sure that people understand them and they can wrap their brains around them. Objective 3 is to start with the student data to identify disparities in academic outcomes and implement research-based education models and systems designed to reduce those disparities for each student. The first strategy includes consistently implementing the multi-tiered system to support model with a focus on equity throughout the district to increase attendance and improve academic, social, emotional, and behavioral outcomes. And we've heard from several people how we really want our students to be able to control their emotions, not their emotions to control them. And so that social emotional does a great job of teaching those skills in just any emotional event that might occur throughout the day. I think that's all I got. Any questions? I'm open. No? Okay.
So also, before Iris goes anywhere, I want to say that when I talked a couple times about going out to schools this year and walking with elementary principals always want to take me into the classroom where I'm going to see really cool stuff happening, right? It's not like they always take me. I get the, sometimes it's, I think this is the same tour I got last time because I'm going to the same classrooms. Every time I go to Lafayette, I end up in Iris's classroom. So that just tells you something about what's happening in there. I just want to make sure people know what a fantastic teacher she is, and thank you for your great work on this.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you. And that brings priority 2 with Vaughn.
Hello again. So I said earlier that this was a very interesting opportunity for me to learn a lot about things that I don't know a lot about. Not working with kids being the primary thing I do on a daily basis, I learned a whole lot here. And so this is a big one of them. Priority 2 is our social and emotional and mental health supports, which I had no idea what those even were. I learned. Objective number 1 was that GAPS will implement an evidence-based pre-K-12 pre-K through 12 social emotional learning system to ensure each student gains necessary skills, feels safe, welcome, and valued. One of the strategies that we listed there was that GAPS staff will actively engage in ongoing professional learning centered on trauma-sensitive practices, restorative practices, and SEL curricula. I didn't know what any of those things were, and I learned a lot from it. I think that the things that I've learned is that there is a lot of really knowledgeable people out here. There are a lot of really knowledgeable people in our district that know way more than I do, and they are passionate about helping kids. And these are some of the standards-based, proven things that science tells us are the best ways to get through to these kids and help them out. And so that's why we put it up there. Objective 2 was that the GAPS staffing plan will prioritize and equitably allocate personnel who directly support students' social, emotional, and mental health. One of the strategies we came up with was that GAPS will conduct a needs assessment to equitably allocate social, emotional, and mental health staffing. You can't allocate staff if you don't do that needs assessment. You gotta base it on actually figuring out what our needs of our kids are. And That's right there in the strategic plan, which I think is a great place for it. Objective 3 was that GAPS will support the comprehensive health needs of students and families by establishing and strengthening robust systems and partnerships with local, regional, and state organizations. One of those strategies was that GAPS will create and communicate a clear referral system to remove barriers for the school community in effectively accessing services. We talked a lot about this one and how to word it and how many great resources there already are in our community with organizations that focus on these things and really specialize in it. And we realized we should find some way to put it in our strategic plan to make it clear that everybody in the district has access to those and how to get them. That's, I mean, if you don't do that at a district level, you have a really hard time making sure that every kid gets the same access to things. And we wanted to put that up here and really focus that at a district level. So, questions about any of these?
So you can tell that Vaughn, I mean, there's a lot of things there, right? And at every meeting, Vaughn had really valuable input. He had great thoughts, wordsmithing, and we learned some things from him as well that are important, right, when you're trying to do some of this work. So just thank you for the great work that you did on this and for your willingness and
thank you for inviting me.
And your good, your pleasant demeanor all the way through the entirety of it. Just really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Yeah, it was wonderful. Thanks, Vaughn.
Thank you.
And priority 3, Principal Orsborn.
Hi, I'm Susie Orsborn, proud principal at West Albany High School. And I want to just reiterate what people already said, that it's the first time I've worked in this district for a long time, and I feel like it was the first time that we really came together with pre-K through 12 to make a strategic plan for our district. And the work was fascinating. I was in awe of the knowledge at the table, the thought and the passion of the people around the room, and how everyone really respected each other and came to what we believe is best for every student in the greater Albany Public Schools. So I had the opportunity to talk about rigorous and engaging academics, and our first objective was GAPS will deliver a guaranteed and viable curriculum that provides each student with the authentic opportunity to meet Oregon grade level and content standards. An example of one of the strategies is that instructional staff will collectively engage in the 7-step Educational Excellence PLC team process. And PLCs are different at all levels, but we're going to focus on the same things, meaning that each level, for example, the elementary professional learning communities usually are surrounded by grade level. If there's enough of the first grade teachers in an elementary school, they would work together at grade level. In the middle and high school, they're more around content areas. So the math teachers are together in a PLC. The CTE teachers would be together in a PLC. And it's really a 7-step process of how to plan and prepare instruction, and then organize and chart the data, analyze the data, select common instructional strategies, and then determine the results, the indicators that we want to see, and then create a theory of action, and then just reflect, monitor, and evaluate the results as we go, and then start again. And so I think that it's great that we pick something that we can do at all 3 levels, that it will be consistent, and a program process that we will all do the same. And I think that that's a first, pre-K through 12. And I just want to mention that we talked a lot about beyond 12 and beyond high school, and making sure that we fulfill students' dreams and that we prepare them for life beyond high school and the future. And so it wasn't really just pre-K through 12, because we talked a lot about making sure that we provide a good foundation for every student's future. And the second objective was instructional staff will deliver relevant learning that centers student strengths to develop transferable skills to navigate current and future challenges. And that's what I just talked about, that if we can prepare them for the future. And so we picked a strategy that GAPS staff will deliver learning focused on student success in critical thinking, communication, collaboration, conflict resolution, and problem solving in a diverse society. Because if we teach all those things, we feel like all students can be successful in life beyond high school. And then objective 3 was GAPS will facilitate robust opportunities for self-discovery that affirm and support student strengths, identity, interests, and passions through multiple pathways. And that's when I'm talking about really giving students the opportunity to know what they want to do after high school. And we really think it's super important that we remove all barriers and eliminate the opportunity gap by involving all students so that every student has the opportunity in STEAM. And just to reiterate what STEAM is, that's science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics, and that all students can take advanced courses and be involved in CTE programs. And again, CTE programs and all these courses teach all those things, the critical thinking, the communication, the collaboration, the conflict resolution, and the problem solving, and that they can have a wide range of electives to enhance their education. So, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. I think that Susie did a good job of talking about, of sort of giving an example of, we chose really precise words, like we would wrestle over a word sometimes for half an hour and get different examples up or different sentence structures and so forth that were up there until we get to some place where every single person on the committee, on every single one of these, unanimous thumbs up, I like this, I vote for this, this is where I want it to be, every single time, which was sometimes crazy making because you'd see somebody with their thumb sideways and I would think as the facilitator, oh, for heaven's sakes, you know, what's wrong with this? And by the time we got to this, it was better, you know, which is sort of crazy making too. But thanks for the detailed explanations, Susie, and just making sure that we understand the importance of some of those specific words. All right. Next steps. So we need to reconvene the internal committee and, you know, to continue to communicate with the broader community, the community group. And that's part of what I'll do on Wednesday night this week. And then hopefully that'll continue on. And then, again, the things that need to be completed, individual responsible for each of these, how we're going to measure it, what the measurement goal is, and then the tactics. The detail of how do you actually make that happen? Some of the things that like how do you actually deliver on CTE, for example, as an example of the last one. And then finally, there needs to be an implementation, a monitoring, and a resourcing. So once the idea here is that the internal committee and district staff, district administrators, will come back together and work on this and put together those things that are left to complete. And that work can be done before we get to winter break next year. And then this can come back for full adoption on the part of the board. Want to adopt this part tonight, if you will, so that we can have the foundation to move that work forward. I've spent time with Superintendent Gardner on this to make sure that he's, you know, double thumbs up on it, which he is. And I know he's out there watching right now, so you know, he can text me if that's just not true. And so that we're moving along with that. And then the idea of monitoring. If we don't look at this and see what kind of progress we're making at least twice a year, then the thing starts to stagnate. You've got to know where you are and have some data that says this is what our progress looks like today. And then everybody intends for this to happen, for the work to be done, for us to meet the measurement goals that we lay out or that the district lays out. But one of the things that you'll find is you'll start to fall behind on some of those goals. And if that's the case, a lot of times it's because we didn't resource it right. There's people who are working really hard. They're dedicating their lives to causing this outcome. If you're not getting there, it's not because people aren't working hard or smart. The smarts that this district uses, the models and the methods and so on are as smart as it gets. The question is, have you adequately resourced it? If you're not making progress, you need to look at resource, right? There is a tendency to say, you're not getting it done, and to, thump on somebody's chest. That almost is never the case. The case is you didn't put an adequate resource stream towards this, and we need to rethink about how we allocate the total or add some additional someplace so that we can get it done. And if you don't monitor that on a regular basis, you don't know that it's even happening until you've blown past your target dates. So those are some other things that will come up on this with next steps. And with that, I'm sure if there are any questions, I'd be happy to attempt to answer, or people on the committee help attempt to answer, but I would recommend that the board adopt the strategic plan objectives and strategies as presented. Questions, comments?
On the monitoring, will we be guaranteed to look at this 2 or 3 times a year as part of the process going forward? Because, like you said, it's going to be important to look at it, and we're going to want it brought back to the board and be able to keep track of this, and I'd like to see that built in.
So not being here, I can't make that promise to you.
Andy?
Sorry. But I do think that you do have an opportunity to work with the incoming superintendent and talk about what it is that you would hope to have happen on lots of parts of the district work, and this, I think, would be something that would be really important.
Okay.
Yeah, I really think that if you don't monitor a strategic plan, you might as well put it in a booklet and stick it up on the shelf, and we'll be done. Mm-hmm. And this needs to be a living document. And I know that there are people in the community who will hold you accountable for your ultimate adoption on this, and it will be important to monitor and determine resource success on this.
It's just really obvious that everyone put a lot of work into this and reading through it was really impressive, and I think it's pretty easy to adopt, but really I think what everyone's saying, and I think everyone's in agreement in, and I think what has to be part of this is that's actually setting dates that we're going to do this monitoring. We have to do it, otherwise it's just a waste.
And I would say, internally, the monitoring has to be at least quarterly, and there are systems and routines that you have to say, what are the target dates, what's the progress, is that, green, yellow, red, and then externally in terms of the board and the public, at least twice a year.
So one of the interesting things about this is that when I had the opportunity to work with the Education Delivery Institute on this strategic planning model, Lisa was at the Oregon Department of Education, and she was tutored on this.
Same model, yeah.
Along with this, and what we would do when we would monitor is use either green, this is happening, this is a green light, it's going to go. Yellow, we've got a problem, we need to be looking at it. And red, this isn't going to happen unless we do something different. And so that was part of the routine that was built into it. There's a system of routines that go along with this, and I think that it's a fairly easy but requires discipline on the part of the district to do that, and it's something that makes it come alive.
Rob? The one person I think we forgot to mention in that group of people that were participating, even though it was a small amount of time because he had a lot of things to do, but it was incoming Superintendent Andy Gardner. He was there as well.
Yep.
So he knows very well of this work. I think it's important for you all to know that he has had his fingerprints on this actually when he had time to actually come in and participate on the Fridays that we met.
Yeah, thank you, Javier. I should have said that. I just let it
That's
go.
what I'm here
Thank you
for.
so much for helping me out. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to thank Rob for taking this on. It would have been easy to, of all the things on his plate as an interim, to punt on all this. And I want to thank all of you for sticking through. I remember, this takes me back to the fall of 2019, and I had to review, but we got a lot of data from Jerry Colonia. He came before the board a few times, and I would suggest to new members maybe look at those past. It was a couple, I can't tell you the dates, but there were a couple meetings where he sat before the board and said, this is what we've learned so far from the community. And I see it's formed now, and you've shaped it, but I see the same sentiments and the same phrases that rose to the top. And this is so important. I got to emphasize, this is so important for a board. When you set your priorities and your value's down, it makes those decisions that come to us kind of randomly, it makes it a lot easier to deal with them, because we'll look back. If this is working well, we will look back and say, well, we have set forth this priority. Our people have set forth these priorities, and it should drive, this document should drive our budget going forward in many ways. He talked about resources. Well, that's the same thing, the budget. So I am just super happy how this has turned out, and tons of work by staff and tons of work by the community for coming out and telling us what they want. And it's all good so far.
Do you need a formal motion tonight, or do you need a consensus?
Motion would be great.
All right. I move to approve the strategic plan as presented.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Thank you all for being here tonight. Appreciate every one of you and the work that you did on this. Thanks so much. We'll keep it moving forward. Thank you.
Mr. Saxton, Policy KL.
Yeah. Catch myself up here. Yes, so we have Policy KL. This has come before the Policy Review Committee, and besides the policies and administrative regulations listed below, we'd recommend that the board adopt the changes to policies and administrative regulations. This is a first reading, and it would come back to the board for action at our meeting just a week from tonight. So not a lot of time in between.
So I had a little bit of input for the policy committee regarding the law enforcement agency relationships.
Which is which one?
Yeah, which
it's like
policy?
page 36 is where it starts
Let me look.
in the PDF.
What's the letter of the policy?
KN?
KN. Oh,
That's where it starts. Basically, it doesn't say anything about dismissing or barring police. We need to treat officers of the court, officers of the law as our guests. We don't need to prohibit or heed their entry when they are on official court duty. There's lots of reasons why we request law enforcement, but that's not in there.
I'm confused. Which part of the policy are you? So I'm on KN, and do you have a?
Where it talks about relations with law enforcement
Yep.
agencies, and then further down into the ARs.
Oh, okay.
So we don't need to be telling probation officers that are here to do work of the court that they need to fill out background checks. We don't need to be stopping them from performing their duties.
Where in the policy is that?
I'm saying it needs to be added into.
Oh.
And then, secondly, dismissing law enforcement officers from premises, I think needs to be a superintendent decision. And it would also need to be added into the AR. Those are recommendations to add into.
Could you give me the first one again? I got the dismissing. Oh, it was,
He's dismissing?
right.
So the first
Officers
one
on
was
premises.
not prohibiting the access to our schools when they're doing work of the court.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
And the other one was the dismissing of law enforcement officers from premises.
Okay. So we have a committee meeting on Wednesday night, so we can bring this back to the committee for them to look at.
You know, there's a phrase in the main policy that talks about to investigate matters. So this is law enforcement to investigate matters concerning staff and students upon request initiated by either agency officials
Yeah, or district administrators.
or district administrators. Law enforcement officials may enter school facilities if a crime has been committed on or
on district property or to investigate
Yeah,
matters
or to
concerning
investigate.
either
So-
students
so
or
we have
staff.
probation officers that go into our middle schools and do like small group classes.
Sure.
So they're not necessarily there to investigate or
Mm-hmm.
to under those certain things, but we're getting pushback from some schools saying,
Well, schools certainly, and students' participation in something that's not required by the school certainly have the authority to either limit groups or limit group participation, or certainly dictate when that happens so that it fits into the educational programming and not at the whim of the
No, and I
availability
agree.
of a
Yeah.
probation
I
officer.
agree
So
with that, but they're not letting
it
them in the
sounds,
building
yeah, it sounds
themselves.
like the policy review committee that meets on Wednesday will take this back and have a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with the schedule portion, it needs to be pre-coordinated with the school, but we don't need to not let them in because we don't feel like letting them in.
Sounds like the policy committee should discuss this on Wednesday.
Were
Thank
there others?
That was it.
Okay, thank you. That gives us an opportunity to look at it.
Any future agenda items?
Yeah, I've seen this on the agenda in the past, and I'm not really sure what what's there for, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to throw this out there. I think policy BDDH, public comments at board meetings, needs to be reviewed by this, by the board. We amended it not too long ago, and I think there's some phrases that need to be looked at again. So count this as my public request to look at it again.
Okay. Any other business? Staff? We are? Gentlemen? All right, I'll hear a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn tonight's meeting.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, we are adjourned. Thank you, Stuart.
I think this is the project.